Hey friends and family, Maccabees book 1 chapter 9. This officially puts us over the halfway mark because there are 16 chapters. Here we go. Furthermore, when Demetrius heard that Nicanor and his hosts were slain in battle, he sent Bacchides and Alcimus into the land of Judea the second time, and with them the chief strength of his host, who went forth by the way that leadeth to Galgala, and pitched their tents before Masaloth, which is in Arbela. And after they had won it, they slew much people. Also the first month of the 152nd year, they encamped before Jerusalem, from whence they were moved and went to Berea with 20,000 footmen and 2,000 horsemen. Now Jerusalem had pitched his tents in Elasa, and 3,000 chosen men with him, who, seeing the multitude of the other army, he so great, were so afraid, whereupon many conveyed themselves out of the host, insomuch as abode of them no more but 800 men. When Judith therefore saw that his hosts slipped away, and that the battle pressed upon him, he was sore troubled in mind, and much distressed, for that he had no time to gather them together. Nevertheless, unto them that remaineth, he said, Let us arise and go up against our enemies, if peradventure we may be able to fight with them. But they dehorted him, saying, We shall never be able. Let us now rather save our lives, and hereafter we will return with our brethren and fight against them, for we are but few. But Judah said, God forbid that I should do this thing and flee away from them, for our time be come. Let us die manfully for our brethren, and let us not stain our honor. With that, the host of Bacchides removed out of their tents and stood over against them, their horsemen being divided into two troops, and their slingers and archers going before the host, and they that marched in the forward were all mighty men. As for Bacchides, he was in the right wing. So the host drew near in two parts, and sounded their trumpets. They also of Judah's side went, even they sounded their trumpets also, so that the earth shook at the noise of the armies, and the battles continued from morning until night. Now when Judas perceived that Bacchides and the strength of his army were at the right side, he took him all the hardy men, who discomfited the right wing, and persuaded them into the mount of Azotus. But when they of the left wing saw that they of the right wing were discomfited, they followed upon Judas and those that were with him hard at the heels from behind. Whereupon there was a sore battle, insomuch as many were slain on both parts. Judas also was killed, and the remnant fled. Then Jonathan and Simon took Judas their brother, and buried him in the sepulchre of his fathers in Modin. Moreover, they bewailed him, and all Israel made great lamentation for him, and mourned many days, saying, How is the valiant men fallen that delivered Israel? As for the other things concerning Judas and his wars, and the noble acts which he did, and his greatness, they are not written, for they were many. Now after the death of Judas, the wicked began to put forth their heads in all the coast of Israel, and there arose upon in such a wrought iniquity. In those days also was there a very great famine, by reason whereof the country revolted and went with them. Then Bacchides chose the wicked men and made them lords of the country, and they inquired and searched for Judas' friends, and brought them unto Bacchides, who took vengeance on them and used them despitefully. So was there a great affliction in Israel, the like whereof that not since the time that a prophet has not seen among them. For this cause all Judah's friends came together and said unto Jonathan, Since thy brother Judas died, we have no men like him to go forth against our enemies, and Bacchides, and against them of our nation that are adversaries to us. Now therefore we have chosen thee this day to be our prince and captain in his stead, and thou mayest fight our battles. Upon this, Jonathan took the governance upon him at this time, and rose up instead of his brother Judas. And when Bacchides got knowledge thereof, he sought for him to slay him. Then Jonathan and Simon his brother, and all that were with him, perceived that, fled into the wilderness of Thekoe. and pitched their tents by the water of the pool of Aspar, which, when Bacchides understood, he came near to Jordan with all his host upon the Sabbath day. Now Jonathan had set his brother John, a captain of the people, to pray his friends, the Nabathites, that they might leave with them their carriage, which was much. But the children of Jambri came out of Medeba and took John and all that he had and went their way with it. After this came word to Jonathan, Simon his brother, and the children of Jambri made a great marriage, and were bringing the bride of Nadabatha with a great train, as being the daughters of one of the great princes of Canaan. Therefore they remembered John their brother, and went up, hid themselves under the covert of the mountains, where they lifted up their eyes and looked, and beheld, there was much ado and great carriage. And the bridegroom came forth, and his friends and brethren to meet them with drums, instruments of music, and many weapons. Then Jonathan and they that went with him rose up against them from the place where they lay in ambush, and made a slaughter of them in great sort, as many fell down dead, and the remnant unto the mountains, and they took all their spoils. Thus was the marriage turned into mourning, and the noise of the melody into lamentation. So they had avenged fully the blood of their brothers. They turned again to the marsh of the Jordan. Now when Bacchides heard thereof, he came unto the Sabbath day into the banks of the Jordan with great power. Then Jonathan said to his company, Let us go up now and fight for our lives, for it standeth not with us to this day, as in past time. For behold, the battle is before us and behind us, and the water of the Jordan is on this side and to that side, the marsh likewise and the wood thereof. Neither is there a place for us to turn aside. Wherefore cry ye now unto heaven, that ye may be delivered from the hand of the enemies. With that they joined battle, and Jonathan stretched forth his hand to smite Bacchides, but he turned back from him. Then Jonathan and they that were with him leapt into the Jordan, and swam over into the other bank, howbeit the other passed not over Jordan unto them. So there was slain of Bacchides' side that day about 1,000 men. Afterwards returned Bacchides to Jerusalem, and repaired the strong cities in Judea, the forts in Jericho, and Emmaus, and Beth-horon, and Bethel, and Thamnatha, Pharathoni, and Tephon. These did he strengthen with high walls, with gates, and with bars, and in them he set a garrison, that they might work malice upon Israel. He fortified also the city of Bethsura, Gazura, and the tower, and put forces in them, and provision of victuals. Besides, he took the chief men's sons in the country for hostage, and put them in the tower at Jerusalem to be kept. Moreover, in the 153rd year, in the 2nd month, Alcimus commanded that the wall of the inner court of the sanctuary be pulled down. He pulled down also the works of the prophets. And as he began to pull down, even at the time was Alcimus' plagues, and his enterprises hindered. For his mouth was stopped, and he was taken with palsy, so that he could not speak anything or give orders concerning his house. So Alcimus died at that time with a great torment. Now when Bacchides saw that Alcimus was dead, he returned to the king, whereupon the land of Judea was in rest 2 years. Then all the ungodly men held a council, saying, Behold, Jonathan and his company are at ease, and dwell without care. Now therefore we will bring Bacchides hither, who shall take them all in one night. So they went, consulted with him. Then removed he, and came with a great host, and sent letters privily to the adherents in Judea, that they should take Jonathan, and those who were with him, howbeit they could not, because their counsel was known to them. Wherefore they took of the men of the country that were authors of the mischief about 50 persons, and slew them. Afterward Jonathan and Simon and they that were with him got them away to Beth-Basai, which is in the wilderness, and they repaired the decays thereof, and made it strong. Which thing when Bacchides knew, he gathered together all his hosts, and sent word to them that were of Judea. Then went he and laid siege against Beth-Basai, and they fought against it a long season, and made engines of war. But Jonathan left his brother Simon in the city and went for himself into the country, and with a certain number went forth. And he smote Odonaicus and his brothers, and the children of Pharsiron in their tents. And when he began to smite them, he came up with his forces. Simon and his company went out to the city and burned up the engines of war, and fought against Bacchides, who was discomfited by them, and they afflicted him sorely in his counsel and travail, for his counsel and travail was in vain. Wherefore he was very wroth at the wicked men that gave counsel to come to the country, insomuch as he slew many of them, and purposed to return into his own country. Wherefore when Jonathan had knowledge, he sent ambassadors unto him to the end he should make peace with him and deliver them the prisoners. Which thing he accepted and did according to his demands, and swore unto him that he will never do him harm all the days of his life. When therefore he was restored unto him the prisoners that he had taken aforetime out of the land of Judea, he returned and went his way into his own land. Neither came he any more into his border. Thus the sword ceased from Israel. But Jonathan dwelt at Maccabees, and began to govern the people, and he destroyed the ungodly men of Israel. Sorry if my camera was everywhere. It's a longer chapter, and my phone is kind of large and heavy. All right, have a good one.